Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. You need to have a hierarchy of improvement. You need to be aiming for something. That means you're going to be lesser than people who've already attained along that dimension, which can give rise to envy. So the question is, who should you defeat in the final analysis? The answer is you should defeat your former self. You should be constantly trying to do that. You're the right control for yourself too, because you're the one who's had all your advantages and disadvantages. If you want to compete fairly with someone, then you should be competing with yourself. If you're improving yourself, then what you are doing is competing with your lesser self. You might also ask, what is that lesser self? That lesser self would be resentful, bitter, aggressive, and vengeance-seeking. Those things that go along with having a negative moral character. These are things that interfere with your ability to progress as you move forward through life. It's very necessary to understand this. This is why I've been stressing the idea of personal responsibility. Personal responsibility is to compete with yourself, to be slightly better than yourself the next day, and better in some way that you can actually manage. That's humility. If you're a flawed person with problems, the question isn't, could I be as good as person X? The right question is, could I be slightly better tomorrow than my currently flawed self? The answer is yes, if you have enough humility to set the bar properly low. If you set the bar low enough, you can improve. You have to acknowledge your flaws and insufficiencies, then determine the best that someone as flawed and insufficient as you could do to improve, and actually do it. It may not be worth going out in the street and celebrating, but it's a step forward. This is why I tell people to clean their rooms. It's not something to brag about, but for someone who is struggling, it's something manageable. That means you're on the pathway to self-improvement, transcending your former self. You won't win every time, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Part of being able to continue taking shots is having the strength of character to tolerate the times when you're not on top. The right way of being in the world isn't about following a set of rules. It's about continually transcending the flawed person that you currently are. The meaning in life is found in that pursuit. Life is tragic and difficult for everyone, and it's also tainted by malevolence. Even when things are already hard, there's always something that can make them worse. You need an antidote to that so you don't become bitter and resentful. What do you set against that? Doing something worthwhile by your own definition. You need a reason to get out of bed on a terrible day, something good to do. What's the best thing you can do? Transcend your current wretched and miserable self. There's meaning to be found in that. That meaning is associated with responsibility. Life is hard. It's tainted by malevolence and betrayal, which can make you bitter. You need meaning to offset that. Where is that meaning found? Not in rights or impulsive pleasure, but in responsibility. You take responsibility for yourself. If you're good at it, you'll have some excess left over to take care of your family. If you manage both of those, you'll have some excess left over to take care of your community. These are heavy burdens, but picking them up gives life meaning. The best way to pick up the burden is to continually improve yourself. That meaning is in continual self-transcendence. Letting your old self die so the new self can be reborn. Even if things are going well for you now, there will be a time in the future when things are rough. You'll be ill, a family member will be ill, a dream will fall apart, or you'll face uncertainty. The flood is coming, the apocalypse is coming. It's always the case in life. The question is, how do you prepare for it? The answer is to find a way of being that works even under the direst circumstances. You have the possibility to slowly raise yourself out of the mire. You can do what the fighter does when he's defeated. Take stock of what went wrong so you can improve in the future. That's the right attitude. Your best strategic position is to ask, how am I insufficient and how can I rectify that? You are insufficient, but you can rectify it. Both are within your grasp. If you don't know how to start improving your life, it's because you're not aiming low enough. There's something trivial that you could do, something you would actually do that would result in an improvement. But you don't think it's a big enough improvement, so you don't do it. Aim low. I don't mean don't aim up, but you have to accept the fact that you must set yourself a goal you can attain. There won't be much glory in it at first. If you're not in good shape, the goal you set for tomorrow won't be, but it's better than nothing, and it beats bitterness and blaming someone else. There's a principle in the New Testament, the Matthew principle, which economists use to describe how the world works. To those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken. It means that failure compounds, but so does success. A small step today puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step tomorrow, and that builds momentum. I've had so many people come up to me and say, I started making my bed and it made all the difference. That may seem trivial, but it's an act of aiming up. You humble yourself and take responsibility for what's right in front of you. You take care of it, put it in order, and suddenly things start improving. This is what my tour has been about. It's not political. I speak to about 150 people a night, and we never talk about politics. It's always about personal improvement. I was struggling, but I put my life together. I'm getting along better with my family, my kids, my spouse. I have meaning in my life. Thanks a lot. That's the right thing. The self-esteem movement tells people to accept themselves the way they are. But that's not enough. You need a trajectory. People respond to my message because I don't tell them they're okay the way they are. I tell them they could be way more than they are. And they're relieved because if you're in a dark place and someone tells you you're okay, you don't know what to do with that. You're not okay, but you could be better. You could be incomparably better. And in pursuing that better version of yourself, that's where you'll find meaning. That will give you the antidote to suffering.